couple of months ago, I believe it was back in March, I reported to you all that the bird flu was starting to spread throughout cattle in America. And I mean, large farms with hundreds of cattle were affected. And this was in states all across America. But for the most part, people didn't want to hear it. People were like, we've seen this before. We don't want to hear about this. This is fear-mongering. Nothing to see here, folks. Don't believe it. It's not true. Blase, blase, blase. But what people still don't understand, and I don't get it. Why don't people understand this yet? It doesn't matter how real something is. It doesn't matter how deadly something is. It doesn't matter if you're scared of this virus or you're not scared of this illness. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is how our government chooses to act or react to the situation. Now, we know that we're headed into a big election. What happened last time we were headed into a big election? Do you think for 1 second that history can't repeat itself? Do you think for 1 second that the powers that be won't try to do what they've already accomplished before? And yeah, it's easy for you, it's easy for me, sitting at home to be like, yeah, we ain't going for that shit, dude. We're not going for that. You know what I mean? I get it. I'm like that too. I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do all that. I get it. But that doesn't stop these people from doing what they want to do. And you better believe it, folks. Regardless of what you want to think, you are surrounded by sheep. You are the minority. You watching this video, you are the minority. And I'm not talking because your skin color. I'm not talking because of what country you came from or who you worship. You're the minority because you're someone who actually thinks. You're someone who thinks for yourself. You're someone who doesn't necessarily just follow the crowd or just follow whatever orders you're given. You're the minority, though. Understand that. Understand that the majority of the masses around us are ready and willing to be brainwashed again. They are ready and willing to be herded in whatever direction that the cattle herders herd them in. So if you think they can't pull something off again, you're wrong. And I believe that in our lifetimes, they will try to pull it off again. Will it be as successful? Will it be as successful as it was before? Maybe not. Maybe certain governors in certain states will take a stand and stop things from being the way they were a few years ago. But I do think they're going to try it again. And I fully believe, as someone who covers the news, as someone who's constantly paying attention to the news cycle, they've been trying to scare us with various different things for the last couple of years, and it's kind of like they're throwing noodles at the wall trying to see which one sticks, right? They're just throwing crap at the wall trying to see what sticks. And they gauge public reaction, then they back down, or they'll push this, or what have you. But now experts are trying to claim that we are in the middle of another demic. Okay? They're claiming that we are in the middle of another demic, right in time for the next election. Let's go ahead and roll this news clip, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Could we be on the verge of another pandemic, and one that could be even worse than the one caused by coronavirus? This time it could actually be bird flu. Let's hope not. The CDC is now calling for more testing for bird flu at America's farms, sounding alarms after several farm workers contracted the disease from animals. Since 2003, there have been 888 confirmed human cases worldwide. That's according to the CDC. But here's the scary part. Half of those patients died from the disease. Compare that to COVID, in which just 0.6% of people who tested positive actually died. The fear now is that the bird flu is changing, adapting, and could spread to not just birds, but also cattle and pigs, and then eventually spread from human to human. Former CDC Director Robert Redfield, who helped oversee our country's response to COVID, says it is definitely time to take this more seriously. And Dr. Redfield joins me live now. It's always nice to see you, Doctor. I remember you told Chris not long ago that the bird flu could make COVID look like a little pandemic, which was quite alarming. I mean, is that really the case?
Yes, Brian, I really do think it's very likely that we will at some time, it's not a question of if, it's more of a question of when, we will have a bird flu pandemic. As you mentioned, unfortunately, bird flu has, when it does enter humans, has a significant mortality, probably somewhere between 25 and 50% mortality. So it's going to be quite complicated. Since 2019, we've had a progressive increase in bird flu in chickens and ducks and turkeys in our country. And since then, you've seen it now go into a number of mammals. It's now in over 25 different mammals. I think now with the llamas recently, it's now in 27 mammals in the United States. Why is that important? Is we know exactly what has to happen for bird flu to be infectious for humans and go human to human. Scientists in 2012 actually did experiments in the lab using gain-of-function research, which I'm not in favor of, but the scientists did it, and they figured the 5 amino acids that have to change in a key receptor in order for bird flu to gain a propensity to bind to the human receptor and then be able to go human to human. Something that obviously happened with COVID, where COVID obviously learned how to use the ACE2 receptor in humans and then, of course, became a very infectious virus. Those 5 amino acids,
so
that's a huge...
So I was just wondering if it's going to go, if it does, hopefully it won't. If it goes human to human, though, is it like COVID where if you cough, someone else can get it? Is that how it spreads, or does it spread a different way?
No, it's likely to spread through aerosol and droplets is how it's going to eventually spread. And once the virus gains the ability to attach to the human receptor, and then go human to human, that's when you're going to have the pandemic. And as I said, I think it's just a matter of time. Normally, the 5 amino acid changes is a huge species barrier. So who knows how long that will take. But as it goes into more and more different mammals, it's changing its use of receptors. It's changing. It's learning how to use different receptors for dolphins and seals. And it's learning how to use receptors in bears and polar bears and foxes and raccoons and cats. So it's going through a lot of changes, and as it picks up some of these new receptors, it can get closer and closer to humans. Recently in cattle, where it was recently described and now is in a significant number of cattle in the United States, I'm concerned about that because cattle live close to pigs, and a lot of times in flu, there's been a relationship of flu going from pigs to humans as it's trying to evolve and gaining the receptors it needs to go human. I'm less concerned, though, that this will happen through spillover and evolution in animals. I'm much more concerned that this will happen in the laboratory through gain-of-function research.
Okay.
I can create this virus literally in weeks to months by using gain-of-function research. I know exactly what amino acids I have to change because in 2012, against my recommendation, the scientists that did these experiments actually published them. So the recipe for how to make bird flu highly infectious for humans is already out there. All you have to do is look it up.
That's creepy to think about. It's creepy to think about, Dr. Redfield, and we know what can go wrong with the possibility of how COVID started in the lab, and the fact that these diseases can be weaponized is very scary to think about. We'll stay on top of it with your help. Dr. Robert Redfield, thank you so much for coming on.
Do me a favor right now, you all. Share this video, and better yet, save this video. Because the things that they just said in that clip, those are things that will be covered up in the future once all of this goes down. And look, I'm going to be completely honest with you all. I do believe this is going to happen. I don't know when. I'm not saying that this is going to all unfold within the next few months. It could be a few years from now. But this is going to happen. And I'm no medical expert. I'm no scientist. The reason why I tell you that this is going to happen is because they have been telling us that this is going to happen for a very long time now. For months, and I've made several videos about it, they've been telling us what their plan is. They've been telling us what they're going to do. And the powers that be, they do this all the time. Everyone always panics and they act as if things came out of nowhere. But these people let you know what they're going to do ahead of time. You just got to listen. You just got to look. You got to not be so distracted by everything else that's going on. Now, the crazy part is this video that I'm making right now, it will get way less views than the videos that I make about Gypsy Rose or insert celebrity name here, and that's the problem. But that's reality. People are caught up in the distractions. And when you try to wake them up like, hey, look, they're right here on the news talking about how they can create the next demic within a couple of weeks. Here they are right here. Everyone's like, oh, you're crazy. It's a conspiracy. No. These aren't my words. Cinema Shogun did not sit down and create all of this nonsense. I am putting a magnifying glass on things that are already happening, things that are already transpiring, things that are being said. Now, supposedly, this will have like a 25 to a 50% kill rate. That's a lot crazier than what we dealt with a few years ago, if that's true. But the craziest part to me is, he already told you what's up. They're working on this in a lab. You know, they say things like, if this jumps to humans, it can be really bad. What do you mean, if? You guys are hard at work in the laboratories right now, making sure that this can and will jump over to humans. You've already done it. They're already doing the experiments. They've already done it years ago. And they openly tell you this stuff on the news. And then when the ish hits the fan and things pop off, you'll get banned from social media for pointing this stuff out. But it's right there in front of you, folks. He's telling you it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When this stuff starts jumping to humans. And then goes on to say, yeah, we figured out how it jumps to humans. We've already been doing it in the labs. Or, I'm not saying that he specifically said that he was doing it himself, but you get the point. But he specifically said himself, hey, I could go into a lab, I know the recipe, I could cook this up in a couple of weeks, and I could basically take down the whole world. These are the type of... This is the type of stuff that we're dealing with behind the scenes. These are the type of people that we're dealing with. They're playing games. They're playing around with things that could end so many lives. Yet we take it so lightly. Like with Fauci. There's no reason why Fauci is a free man right now, if you ask me. But looking at this, going forward, I think that we need to start paying more attention to the warning signs. We need to stop writing everything off like, oh, this is fear-mongering, they're just trying to scare us. Because at the end of the day, maybe they are scaring you, maybe there is some fear-mongering involved, but look at the truth that was within the message. The truth about, yeah, we're already doing gain-of-function research. We already got it down pat. I can go into the lab right now and cook something up. What? What? These people are so bold, they'll sit there on the news, on live television. Dudes on live television telling the world, hey, yeah, I can go cook this up in my lab in a couple of weeks. Bring about a new demic. Kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. I could do that myself right now. So at the end of the day, we got to start taking this stuff more seriously. Because I can tell you right now, there were plenty of signs and plenty of warnings leading up to the last one. And there are going to be plenty of signs and plenty of warnings leading up to the next one. And I'm tired of people either ignoring it or writing it off. We need to confront this stuff head on, and we need to stop stuff like this from happening. And the only way we do that is by spreading awareness and by taking this stuff seriously. But for now, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.